All right. Welcome in to the Paycast network, where today we are starting a brand new series we are calling One-on-One Agent Spotlight. We are also currently workshopping that name, so do not be surprised if it has a different name on the next episode of One-on-One Agent Spotlight. But in this series, we will be doing exactly what I just said. I will be going one-on-one with an agent and spotlighting them, how they got to where they are, what they're currently doing in the business, and really just getting them to tell their story about who they are. Our very first guest is a good friend. He's actually been on another Paycast episode, so hope you're not getting tired of him yet, but it is Jason Isidore. How are we doing, Jason?
I'm fantastic. I'm excited to be here, Chase. I'm
Awesome.
excited to be here.
Thank you for joining us.
You're welcome.
So, like I said, very first one-on-one agent spotlight, and like I also mentioned, just want to get your story and how you got to where you are today.
Yeah.
So let's start from the very beginning. 18 years ago, I heard.
Yeah.
Where did you start, and how did you get to where you are today?
So I kind of got into the industry just by happenstance. My buddy was trying to get me into the industry for years, and I was against it. I was doing office supply sales, outside sales, was doing telecom sales. So I had a sales background, but my buddy kept talking about merchant services, how great it is, and you got to get in here, you'd be good at it. And so one day I was getting tired of what I was doing at my telecom company, was just kind of getting burned out on that industry as a whole. Very hard sale. And so I just took the leap one day, and my buddy was a manager over at Chase Payment Tech. Okay. And so I just took the leap of faith and got into the industry. And that was 18 years ago, yeah.
Okay. Tell me about what the first 6 months, year and a half of being in the merchant services business was like.
You know, it was different. When I was working at Payment Tech, it was a phone sales position. And so I was W-2'd, and I was working with branch banks in New York City. So I kind of learned in one of the toughest areas of the country to deal with banks in New York. And so learned the industry, and I enjoyed it, but was W-2 and was making decent money 18 years ago back then, but was really capped with my residuals because it was more working for the bank, working for Chase. And it was more of a transactional sale. You'd sign the merchant up, they'd go to the bank, and then I would sign them up. They'd be sitting there with their branch banker, and I would sign them up. They'd call me, the banker would call me, and then I would set them up, send the paperwork out, get the application back, and at that point, we would just have a new merchant. Yeah. And so it really was transactional. Well, what I was used to being good at was more of the relationship-based selling when I was doing the office supplies and telecom, and I was pretty good at it. And so did that, but learned the industry inside and out at Payment Tech. That's kind of where I cut my teeth, you know.
So let's go back to before Payment Tech, before the office supply sales. Yeah. Were you always kind of a sales guy, or did you fall into sales?
I kind of fell into sales. I was a Division I baseball player back in the mid-'90s at Coastal Carolina in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. So when baseball ended for me,
that's the teal football field, isn't it?
That is the teal
Carolina
football field. Now I'm so old to remember the days before Coastal even had a football team. When I was there, we didn't even have a football team.
Oh wow!
So I'm an
I don't think I was around for those days.
Yeah, you're a little younger, Chase. And so when baseball ended, I was kind of like, what am I going to do with my life? And I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I went to school for psychology, but in order to do anything with psychology, you have to go get your master's degree. And I really wasn't in. I just enjoyed psychology and enjoyed why people are the way they are. And so I got into personal training right out of college, and then I just kind of fell into sales, and I enjoyed it. It was the first thing that had given me kind of that rush, like playing sports, very competitive, disciplined. And so my first sales job was actually, I was selling office supplies, and just kind of cutting my teeth, going door to door and getting beat up out in the streets, but I enjoyed it.
Was that needed a job and found the job, or did you look for a sales job specifically?
No, I needed a job and just kind of stumbled across this office supply job. And I did it for about a year, and I was good at it. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed walking into doors and getting beat up. I enjoyed talking to business owners. And so from there, when I ended up leaving there, because the company got sold, ended up getting into telecom. And that was my next sales job. And same thing, feet on the street, knocking on doors, going and talking to business owners, and setting up their telecom services. Did that for 3 years, and it was fun, But boy, I'll tell you, the service part of it was tough because when people's phone lines go down, a business's phone lines go down, you want to talk about getting ear-holed.
Yeah, every time.
Every time.
Yeah.
And so that's when I made that transition to Chase. My buddy was trying to get me over there, and the rest is history.
So an interesting thing that I like to ask people that have been selling for a long time, obviously successful like yourself.
Yeah.
And I relate it to, you hear this a lot with athletes where they're playing high school or college ball, and if they're athletic enough, they can just rely on their athletics.
Yeah.
And then they get to a certain point where you can't do that anymore.
That's correct.
For you in sales, you're a personable guy. We spent the entire day together. We're getting along well. So I would assume that sales came easy to you because you don't have a problem talking to people and you're personable. Was there a certain point where you couldn't rely on that anymore? You did kind of have to put in some work to become better at sales?
Yeah, I think so. I think you can. Your personality can only take you so far in sales. I mean, you have to go back to the blocking and tackling. You know, the basics and fundamentals of sales. But I did know that I was good at it.
Yeah.
I had a gift of gab. I could go in and talk to everybody. I could talk to different personality types, and I was really good at it. And so that only took me so far. Then I had to really get good with the organization, the discipline, and the organization part of it, because if you're not organized, you're going to fail.
Right.
And in what we do now in merchant services, you're out on an island kind of by yourself. So if you can't set goals and know what you're going to do from hour to hour during the day, you're going to struggle because no one's watching you. And you don't have a boss. And so I was good at the personality part of it, but the organization is when I took it to the next level, and I developed kind of an organizational path to success.
How much do you think your experience as a D1 athlete had to do with that piece?
I think a lot. I mean, my coach used to always tell me if you were 15 minutes early, you were 15 minutes late. And so I think from being an athlete, you learn to get there on time to practice. You learn to be disciplined, organized with your schedule. And so a lot of those traits and skills that I took those traits and skills and kind of transferred them to the sales part of it. And that's really what's made me successful, is the organizational piece of it really keeps me disciplined and structured and focused as to where I'm going.
Yeah. Was there any struggle going from such a structured team atmosphere for your entire life to being kind of, like you mentioned, on an island, a one-man show? Yeah, that's I think the hardest part of our industry. When you're 1099, which is what I've been for the last 12 years, since I left Sage and that story, and Summit. When you are 1099, you have to get yourself up and you have to stay structured and organized through the course of your day because no one's watching. Right.
And so it was tough at first, but I made the transition and really became a success.
Was there, over the last 18 years of merchant services, was there a moment or maybe a series of moments where something clicked where it was, okay, I'm good at this, I can make a living and make a career out of this?
Yeah. I think it was the moment I signed my biggest deal. I think for what we do, when you see those residual checks, that'll show you can do it.
Right.
So I think when I signed my biggest deal ever, I knew I could do it. And it was a longer sales cycle, long process to get them as a client. But once I got them on board and started making really good residual income off of them, I was like, this is for me.
Yeah. Was there ever a moment where you thought, maybe this isn't for me, maybe I should look at something else?
I've never really thought that. I've never had a moment where I thought I should look at something else because I just enjoy what I do. I love this industry.
Yep.
And I think when you love what you do, I think it comes out and comes across to the merchants you're trying to sell. And if you have a true passion, I just really am passionate about merchant services.
Yeah.
We are in the best sales job out there. I don't care what anybody says. We are in an industry where you can change your life through residual income and be your own boss. And I never had that, to answer the question, I never had that moment where I said, this is not for me. I love what I do and I'm passionate about it.
Can you talk a little bit about Summit? What happened to where you started Summit and where you're at from that point?
Definitely. So I started Summit. So here's my evolution. So I started at Payment Tech, did that for a few years. didn't really enjoy being on the phones.
Mm-hmm.
I knew I was more of an outside sales kind of guy. I liked talking to the business owner, looking him in the eye and building trust that way. Hard to build trust over the phone.
Yeah.
Just a different kind of sale. So ended up going over to Sage Payment Solutions and was there for a few years, was a W-2 employee and enjoyed it. Was in the Phoenix market. It was myself and another sales rep. It was just two of us in the market. Was enjoying it, and I'll never forget this moment. This moment changed my life, and it changed it for the better. We had the dreaded conference call. So we all got called to a conference call one morning, and we get on the conference call, and it's silence. And you know when you've been on a conference call, most of the time people are laughing and joking and talking and catching up. Dead silence. So I kind of knew this was going to be bad. And so our sales manager gets on the phone and says they've eliminated the sales role for all 75 of us across the country. But they gave us the opportunity to become a 1099 agent. And I never really was in a position to become a 1099 agent because I always needed the base salary, you know, the benefits, the whole 9 yards, being married and having kids. And I went home that day and I told my wife, I said, I want to start this. I want to start Summit. And so that's when Summit Payment Solutions was born.
How long ago was that?
This was 12 years ago.
Okay.
12 years ago. And I made the decision to start. And my wife gave me her blessing to start, and the rest is history. And I grew my residuals every single month until we're here today. And it's been a fantastic ride. You know, and it's been 12 years of just grinding it out and getting to where I'm at now.
Did you have anybody in your life that when you told them you're going 1099, they'd give you the, are you sure about that?
You know, my wife was a little apprehensive at first, obviously, because you lose your base salary and you have kids. At the time, my kids were, my goodness, I think my daughter was 5. I had a 7-year-old son and a 9-year-old son at the time. And so she was a little apprehensive, but I told her, I said, I want to build something great. And I don't want to be 50 years old working for another company and get fired.
Right.
And that's the greatest thing of what we do is you are your own boss. You can control your destiny and control your income. And I've grown it. And it was the greatest, that conference call, looking back on it now, was the greatest thing that ever happened to me. Because I don't think that had that conference call happened and our job would have got eliminated, I think I'd probably still be a W-2 agent.
What would you say if we went back in time to you in that moment and you told you where you would be right now? What do you think that you would have said?
I would have said there's no way. I mean, a lot of people that are going to be listening to this know the kind of money we can make in this industry. I'm the American dream. You know, and the way I look at it is I'm a kid that grew up in a single mom family on food stamps, and I've lived my dream through merchant services.
Right.
You know, I've made more money than I ever thought I'd make in my life, and it's been fantastic. It's been absolutely fantastic, you know.
What would you like to say? So you're 18 years in. We talked a little bit off air. You're thinking maybe another 5 years. I'm going to say you're going to be in it for another 10 or 15 years just from getting to know you. At whatever point in time you are done with merchant services, what would you like people to say about you and what your legacy was in the industry?
I would like to see I was just somebody that I could be trusted and have integrity. There's a lot, I always use this comment, and there's a lot of Mickey Mouse companies in our industry. There's a lot of Mickey Mouse reps and agents in our industry bouncing around the streets, kind of filling merchants' heads with a lot of nonsense.
Right.
Lying, no integrity, no moral compass. And I think that's what's really set me apart. And I would like people to say, this is a guy that did it the right way. He was there for his merchants when they needed him. This is a relationship-based sale. You know, and a lot of my merchants are being peppered every day with my competition trying to get in and try to get the business. And I think my integrity and my relationships I've built with those folks, they'd say this guy's above board. His integrity is incredible. He answers the phone when we call him, when we need him. You know, and I would like to be known as one of the good ones, because in our industry there's a lot of Mickey Mouse, very few good ones.
Right.
So,
do you ever find merchants or partners or whatever it is that they're a little tougher to build that relationship in the beginning because they're apprehensive.
Yes.
Because of the kind of the things that you were talking about.
Yes.
Do you encounter that often?
Do encounter it a lot, and I tell you, that's what I love it. And the reason I love it is because if I can win that customer and that merchant over, and I have many merchants in my portfolio who I've won over that were that customer that were apprehensive about us merchant service folks at the beginning. If I can get in there and show them what a good merchant service agent is, I've got a customer for life.
Right.
And so, yeah, that's one of the things I think that you hear a lot from people in our industry is it's hard to go in after those merchants. I love it. I love it because if you can go in and set yourself apart by being someone that they're not used to seeing, because they think we're all scumbags at the beginning. Right. If you can go in and show them you're not, you've got a client for life.
So it sounds like you take it less of a challenge, this is going to be tough, and more of a let's use this to our advantage and build that relationship.
Oh yeah, most definitely. Relationship's the key. Like I said, our merchants are getting peppered with our competition every day.
Yep.
And they almost become numb to hearing another merchant service agent, another merchant service agent, there's so many of them out there. And so if you can build that relationship, you've got a client for life. And that's going to make you successful. And those merchants for life are the ones that are going to pay for your son's tuition, going to pay your mortgage. And so you really have to treat them like family. And they become like family, and the relationship is the key.
Do you have, on the point of your merchants are getting peppered all the time, they're probably hearing a lot of the same things over and over. I'm sure even some of the people that you're prospecting or reaching out to are hearing similar things from everybody that comes in. Do you have to put any work into being more creative about the way that you present yourself in Summit when you're approaching new merchants?
You do, and the landscape in our industry has changed a lot over even the last 5 years. You've got to be sharp with your marketing. You've got to be sharp with your technology. You really have to be on your game because these merchants, as I said, they've been getting peppered with just lots and lots and lots of bad agents.
Right, and a lot of times it's the same thing over and over and over.
Yes,
right?
And so kind of the way I kind of approach it is I just go in and have conversations. Have a conversation with these people. Let them know you're a person. Look them in the eye. Let them feel the energy that you're giving off. Give off good energy. Emote good energy. Emote trustworthiness. Because I think a lot of them go into a merchant service interaction, agent interaction, and they think we're all the same.
Yeah.
And so if you can go in and just have the conversation, be a person, make it conversational, that's what's going to make you a success.
Is there a particular story with a merchant of yours, past or present, that maybe they had been really screwed over or they were in a horrible position? Like, is there one that sticks out to you that you think you maybe helped them the most or you felt the most fulfilled from that particular deal?
I do. Going back to the trustworthiness, this is something that if you do what I did, you will have a client for life. And I still have this client to this day, and I've had this client now 9 years. So, had a bakery that was with Chase, Payment Tech. And they were in a bad area, so they had bad network connections, bad internet.
Okay.
So when they were with Chase, their terminals would always go down because they just couldn't get a good internet connection. Internet would go out, terminals would go out.
Yep.
So I remember walking in, and I talked to her, and she was a little apprehensive, talked to Pat, the owner, and she was apprehensive, but I kind of broke her down, and we had a good conversation. It became very conversational.
Was this just a cold call?
Just a cold call. And you have to find those pain points in that initial cold call to figure out where am I taking this call? Where am I going with this merchant? And she said, hey, our biggest day of the year is Christmas Day. They're in an older community, a 55 plus community in Phoenix, in Arizona, and they're open on Christmas morning. It's their biggest day of the year because everybody goes, everybody else is closed, so they go there, their customers go there and get their coffee, their baked goods. And she said, last Christmas, our terminals went down for half the day, and we called Chase, and we had an 800 number, and we couldn't get anybody to help us.
On Christmas Day?
On Christmas Day. And I told her, and I said, Pat, if I was your agent and I was your rep and you gave me the opportunity to show you what I could do, if that happened next Christmas, call me and I would come out and get you set back up. Signs up with me. And you know, at the time I said that, I'm like, her terminal's not going to go down.
Right. Yeah.
So guess when her terminal goes down?
Christmas Day.
Christmas morning.
Did it actually go down, or did she just call you because you said that?
It went down.
Wow.
So I'm opening presents with the kids and my wife, Christmas morning. And I get my phone, and I look at it, and I see Pat's number.
No way.
Christmas morning. And I'm like, all right, I got to answer this.
Oh, yeah.
So I tell my wife, excuse me. So I answer the phone. Pat, she's freaking out. Her terminals went down. It really was not a hardware deal. It was internet. So terminal, I said, Pat, relax. I'll be there in 15 minutes. So I tell my wife, I'm sorry, honey, I got to go. So I get in my car.
I'm sure that went over really well.
Listen, my industry pays for the Christmas presents.
That's true. Good point.
So, I mean, it's kind of like you got to kind of just go with the flow as the wife. And so, long story short, I get in my car, I go to the business. We just had to, it was a simple fix. We had to reset the router. That was it.
Okay. But you saved her year.
I saved her day, and she couldn't believe that I actually did what I said I was going to do when I first met her, 11 months earlier.
Right.
And it went, and she talks about that story every year. And and I've had them for quite a while now. And it's one of those things where when you do those kind of things, you're going to have a client for life.
Right.
And so yeah.
Okay, so let's go. That's a great story.
Yeah.
Now let's go more of and I'm going to leave this very open-ended for you.
Yeah.
What is the craziest, most notable off-the-wall merchant story that you can think of that you've ever had?
It's a good question.
Something that would shock me that it happened.
That's a good question. Wow, I got to really think about that one. That's a good question.
I'm sure you have a ton of crazy.
Yeah.
I don't think you're in this business for 18 years without having something off the wall happen. I mean, that one, as good as it turned out, is pretty crazy for you to tell her if they go down on Christmas, and then they do.
From a merchant standpoint, nothing super crazy comes to mind. I'm sure if I picked my brain a little bit. See, this is a 50-year-old mind going to work. I was telling Ian, when you get 50, the mind don't work like 28. I've got some wild cold calling stories.
Okay, let's do
those.
Those
are wild. So had a cold call that I did where I actually almost got bit by a dog.
What?
Yeah, listen, it's the mean streets out there walking
true.
into businesses. And so I walked onto a car lot, and I'm walking, and then I see a dog, and the dog and me make eye contact. And if you've ever made eye contact with a dog that's kind of a guard dog, you're like, oh, that little voice says it's time to go.
Oh yeah.
And so I saw the dog, took off running.
You did?
I turned around, ran my butt off because the dog starts chasing me.
Coastal Carolina athlete came up.
Oh my goodness! So I run and I get in the car, and the dog was that close. The owner comes out to my car, and I actually did the cold call pitch in the car.
They got in the car?
No, he gets to the window, roll the window down. He's laughing, because I'm taking off. And so I ended up signing up the guy.
Wow.
In the car, we set a meeting. He likes the fact that I took off running. He had,
I'm sure he thought that was hilarious.
He got a kick out of it.
Yeah.
Ended up signing up that merchant the next week.
Crazy.
And I made sure when I came back for the meeting the next week that the dog was up. And he made sure the dog was up. So when I used to see the dog, I would kind of laugh because the dog,
The dog kind of started it all there.
Yeah. Yeah. And then you have your cold call stories where, you get cussed out, get out of my store, da-da-da. And what I found is a lot of those bad cold calls, if you can turn them around, they can become your best customers.
Yeah, because they're doing that to everybody else that walks in the door
That
too,
is
right?
correct.
Yeah.
That is correct. And so,
All right. Well, Jason, thank you so much for joining us again on the Paycast Network.
I know.
That's a record. That's two appearances for you.
Yeah.
And really appreciate you coming on for the first episode of currently named One-on-One Agent Spotlight.
Right.
But seriously, thank you so much for coming on.
You're welcome.
And I don't think this will be the last that we're seeing you.
No, I'm enjoying this. This is the Paycast Network is incredible. This is some good stuff.
I appreciate that.
I'm excited to be part of the content.
I appreciate that. And thank you for joining us on this episode of the Paycast Network.